China is accusing the United States of seeking maritime dominance in the name of freedom of navigation. The criticism comes after an incident this weekend as a U.S. Navy destroyer sailed within 12 nautical miles of a disputed island in the South China Sea. CCTV Sean Callebs is joining us now. Some very strong reaction from China.
Yeah, it came quickly. It came throughout the weekend, continuing today. The United States says China's activity in the South China Sea is an affront to navigational rights and freedoms. But in Beijing, a far different reaction. China's leaders point out there has been no effort to halt or disrupt important and lucrative shipping trade routes. And what's going on amounts to the U.S. simply throwing around its military weight.
The United States is flexing its military muscle, sending a warship into the South China Sea over the weekend. The U.S. Navy destroyer came within a dozen miles of an island that China claims. This is the second time in 4 months an American Navy ship ventured into what China calls its territorial waters. China's reaction was quick, calling the U.S. action very dangerous and irresponsible.
The
United States flaunting its military power and creating tension in the name of freedom of navigation is exactly the main cause for the militarization push in the South China Sea.
U.S. Pentagon leaders are issuing no apologies, saying no claimants were notified prior to the transit, which is consistent with our normal process. An estimated $5 trillion worth of trade flows through the area each year. While there are competing claims for regions of the South China Sea by a number of nations, China claims a great deal of the area. Leaders in Beijing say free and unfettered transport has never been an issue.
China always respects and supports the freedom of navigation in the South China Sea based on international law, but firmly opposes any country's attempt to undermine China's sovereign, security, and maritime rights and interests under the excuse of freedom of navigation.
In a sign of heightened tension, the People's Liberation Army activated a garrison on the island in the South China Sea on Saturday. Chinese leaders say the United States is sending its Navy vessels into the area in an effort to create dominance in the region.
And just this past week, the U.S. Secretary of State was in China in an effort to try to diffuse tension in the region, clearly having little success. China maintains most countries oppose U.S. actions in the region, adding that developing nations are strongly disagreeing with this latest display of military might.
This issue just seems to keep coming up and up again. Any way to resolve it?
Well, I think that having the communication is what both sides talk about. The one thing you do hear from both sides is, look, this could get dangerous. This could get out of hand. The PLA had to activate a garrison on the island in question over this past weekend. The U.S. Clearly looking at this very importantly as well, sending John Kerry to China to talk with his Chinese counterpart, but really getting nowhere. Just 3 days after that big meeting, Mike, you see the U.S. warship go into the areas. Some people saying it's almost like trying to poke a large animal with a stick. Why is the U.S. doing this? Maybe we'll get more answers from the Pentagon in the near future.
All right, Sean, thanks so much.